Are immigrants affecting the housing market? No. But here's some data to back up that no. And most recent one, just as an example, comes from Realtor.com. It's called "The Future of Home Building Domestic Migration is Driving the Housing Market." And so this is talking about people moving from other states into other states within the United States. This article mentions that immigration levels have surged in the past couple of years. So since like towards the end of 2021 and beyond, but mainly, 2022, 2023, we've seen just this influx of immigrants. Between 2022 and 2023, there were around 6 million immigrants who came to the United States. This increase was 3 times the average growth seen between 2010 and 2019, and as a result, about 700,000 new households formed, most of which were renters. And if you include 2024, so 2022 to 2024, we've had 100,000 additional owner households as a result of immigration nationally. I'll put up a picture of the John Burns report so you can see the actual graph. I'll just put it up here. And 2022, 2023, it shows, yes, this huge spike in legal status pending immigrants. You've got lawful permanent residents, you've got students and temporary workers, and then the legal status pending immigrants. To put this chart in historical terms, immigration, as you can see from their tracking from 2000 on, we have not had a huge spike in immigrants coming to the United States until we get to 2022 and beyond. So that's not really to blame, or that is not a contributing factor to housing supply, to home prices, as far as a bunch of people bidding on property and pushing prices up, that demand going up. It's because there is low supply, but the housing is not being taken up by immigrants historically. Again, past couple of years, that's been a different story. Now, I had somebody on Facebook tell me that if we actually do deport millions of immigrants, then that's going to open up housing. And we're not going to have such a supply shortage, and that'll fill that demand. I don't know if that'll fill the demand. I mean, but if you were to deport, if the Trump administration was to deport up to 20 million immigrants, what does that look like spread out over, 300 million people within the United States? One other thing that I liked that this article covered was that, according to the Realtor.com senior economist Joel Berner, mass deportation would seriously dampen the residential construction labor force. Builders would face the challenge of replacing lost workers, which takes time and money, and they would likely have to pay more for replacement labor in the future. And that's what I've been talking about previously, but reiterating that, yes, a lot of that construction housing workforce are immigrants. And so if you deport them, you don't have that labor force, and it's going to take time to bring in people or train people to fill in all of those jobs. And so that's going to delay a lot of, or at least a lot of new construction projects. And it's already difficult as is to build enough homes to meet the demand. This will just make it harder. I was tickled pink by the Californians, it says, might be driving the Texifornia trend. So Texas is becoming Californianized, and they've got that cute little name, Texifornia. We have the same thing here in Colorado, and people call it Calirado. So population grows, prices increase, politics change, and yeah, it's all California's fault. And it mentions that places like New York, Illinois have seen a bunch of people moving to Texas and Florida and the Carolinas because they're looking for something cheaper. And yes, I'm aware that having a surge of immigrants within the past couple of years, yeah, that is going to affect the housing market for sure. That'll drive up prices on home purchases and on rentals. And without giving an opinion on mass deportation, the consequences from that are again going to be, yeah, you may free up housing. How much housing? I don't know, depending on where they're being taken from. And how much of that is in Colorado Springs? How much housing would that potentially free up here? I don't know. I do know that Colorado Springs is way in demand on the housing. Even now, homes are selling. It's December. Like, who's putting their house on the market? But they still are. And we have a low supply. We've had that for a while, but we have as many homes for sale now as we did back in the summer. Like, it hasn't let up, and homes are taking longer to sell, but it might be 30, 60 days before they sell on the average or the median. And that's not a long time. 60 to 90 days is pretty typical for a normal standard housing market. So still relatively quickly. And home prices, yeah, they come down a little bit in the wintertime. There's maybe a 10 to 30K or more spread between seasonal summer high prices and the winter seasonal low prices. But even if there is a gap or a more housing that would become available from that, we over the next about over 5 years, we're going to need, Colorado Springs is going to need like 35 to 40,000 more housing units, and we can build about 1,000 or 2,000 a year between houses and multifamily apartments. But even if a mass deportation of immigrants was going to happen, I don't know that that is going to have enough impact on our housing market to, it might level it out temporarily, but the population continues to grow. I'll put up a graph or a picture that shows what states people are moving to Colorado from, and it's mainly California and Texas, as you thought. There's some from Illinois as well, some from Florida, and surprisingly, most people are moving to Colorado Springs from Denver. That's the majority of it. And there's enough people Denver's home prices are about 100K higher than in Colorado Springs. And so there's more people with more money up there. And just that too, moving down to the Springs, that pushes up the home prices. And we are becoming Denverized. By 2015, it's predicted that Colorado Springs will have a higher population than Denver. And we're getting a whole bunch of amenities coming to the city. Ford Amphitheater just opened up. You've got Switchbacks, you've got Widener Field. There's just a lot of vitality and revitalization and growth, continuation of growth and economy that Colorado Springs has been working toward for a number of years. So the demand is very much there. And I also wanted to talk about the 15-minute city idea. I've heard this and read about this many times before, but a new podcast from 99% Invisible came up, and they talk about the perceived pros and cons of having a 15-minute city, which is just to say that anything that you may need as far as stores, grocery stores, take your car to a place, all that kind of stuff, ideally you want it to be within a 15-minute walking distance, not driving, a walking distance, just for ease. And if you want to drive somewhere else, walk somewhere else, you can. Nothing is limiting you from doing that. But in listening to this podcast, I was able to hear the first opposition I had ever heard to a 15-minute city, which was that some people thought that you'd be restricted to just working and purchasing and whatever, living within that area. Now, no one has that intention or idea that I've seen. It has just been about providing ease of access to places so that you don't necessarily have to drive, and that can ease up on traffic congestion as well. That's really it. If you have any thoughts about the 15-minute city, I would love to hear what you think about it. Leave a comment down below. Also, talk to me about immigration and what you're thinking is going to come out of this. How likely is this to happen? What effect do you disagree or agree with what I've said about how this is likely to impact the housing market? Let me know. And of course, I'm a real estate agent in Colorado Springs. My name is Kevin Bond with Remax Real Estate Group. If you are in need of purchasing or selling property in the Colorado Springs area, do let me know, and I would be happy to help you with that. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.